This is our CarePhone. We developed this for ourselves. One of the main challenges when developing this product, the user is elderly, weak, disabled, and you can simply not ask them to remember to charge the unit. You rely on that they react on warnings, warning lights, warning tone, stuff like that. So we need to build in means to make sure that the charging becomes a natural step of their daily routines. So this is an example of what we did. We described this in a design specification. This is how we start our development. We create a document that is the specifications of the product, detailed technical specification, detailed enough for our engineers to develop the product, but also describing all kinds of functionalities, user interface, features in general, and forms and stuff like that. And this is the design specification. That's the central document for developing a product. When starting a development like this, we focus on the user. It's very important that the user experience is good.
A good design is not just about a nice shape. A good design takes the users and the user cases into consideration as well. For the CarePhone, we worked together with an industrial designer who came up with 3 different concepts for us: the organic, the neutral, and the sporty. All the concepts were taking the users and the user scenarios into account, including the charging challenge. Besides the visual design, we also had to consider sound design. Designing sounds is a matter of having the product generating sounds that underlines the functionality of the product, involving as many human senses as possible in order to form a good usability.
In a product like this, there are a lot of engineers involved. The R&D process is complicated. The mechanical engineering is one of them. Mechanical engineering is not only a matter of realizing nice physical shapes, but also to integrate electrical functionalities, but most of all to make the assembly as easy as possible so that we can keep down the factory cost. One cost is the parts, like this, and the other part is the factory cost, the salary in the factory, especially if you produce the product here in Europe. So the total cost forms as well the parts as the factory cost. It's important to keep the total cost as low as possible. So sometimes it makes very good sense to include some more complex components in the design. Like in this case, you see spring making contact directly to the PCB. So in this way, we avoid solderings, wires, connectors. So this is an example of how we spend a bit more on the parts to bring the total cost down. The experience quality is to a very large extent related to the software. The software or the firmware is defining the user interface, so the way that the product is acting. If you push the button, what happens? If the lights turns on, what happens? Stuff like that. But also the general quality of the product is really affected by the software. So you can develop software that works. We always focus on having as good quality in the software as possible. Any product needs to comply with regulatory demands. And this CarePhone, just like any other product, needs to comply with the regulatory demands as well. By taking the regulatory demands into account at a very early stage, we can avoid costly redesign and save time. Time to market is serious money as well. So when installing a product for mass production, we need to take the testing and all the production-related matters into account. Testing time is money as well, and it fallbacks to the cost of the product. So we need to implement software means and hardware means to ensure that the manufacturing cost is kept as low as possible.